After watching this 3-minute video, I completely stopped drinking alcohol, and it has actually completely changed my life in terms of the way I approach my business, the way I approach my mind. I'm gonna share and break down exactly how it happened, and I'll play the exact video I watched. My name is Arjun. I'm the founder and CEO of Doola.com. Doola is a business in a box, and we are a venture-backed tech startup based in New York City that's raised over $13 million of venture capital from some of the world's best investors, including Y Combinator, Nexus Venture Partners, HubSpot Ventures, and notable angels like Cody Sanchez, Graham Stephan, Sahil Bloom, Dharmesh Shah, and more. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will stop drinking. I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, this is an incredibly personal and touchy subject. But here's all I'm going to ask is, this video not only changed my perspective, but it actually was, to me, the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of really shifting my mindset on why right now at this moment in my life, I'm not drinking alcohol. And that doesn't mean I'm never going to drink again, but right now it doesn't fully serve me. So here's what I want to do in this video. I'm going to first share why I stopped and what's happened since then. I then want to play the exact video. So I'm going to play the 3-minute video, which after I watched this video, it was actually very easy for me to stop and be completely comfortable with that. And lastly, the third thing I want to share is this huge mindset shift around living in the gap versus living in the gain, which I think applies to alcohol, but also to other things. So let's dive in. An interesting thing has happened since I actually stopped drinking. The first thing is I was actually once at a wedding, and at the wedding, I didn't tell anyone I wasn't drinking. So at the wedding, people were serving drinks, there was the bar. Whenever I go up, I just get a Diet Coke. And I was pounding Diet Cokes. There's a little caffeine too. And over the course of the night, I was drinking Diet Cokes. I was out on the dance floor. I was laughing with friends at dinner. And at the very end of the night, we were at an Airbnb near the wedding. And someone was like, hey, we should call an Uber. And I said, hey, I can drive. And everyone looked at me saying, you're drunk. What, are you kidding me? You're not going to drive? And I said, no, I actually haven't had a single drink. And a comment a friend made was, to me, really surprising. They said, oh, you seem drunk. And I said, well, I didn't say anything. I just laughed because overall, people around me were getting drunk. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to clearly state, I have zero issues with anyone else drinking. And I'll say this again later. But the interesting thing was, everyone else around me was drunk. And they thought I was too, because I was out there doing the same things as them. The dance floor, the drinking, playing the game. So at the end of the night, when I said, hey, I can drive home, they were shocked. The second thing I'll say is, now when someone asks if I'm drinking, I have this line I say is, I get drunk off the vibes. And it's kind of a fun joke. People laugh at it. But the thing I like about it is that's actually what I've realized is that the vibes, the environment, the people around me are the most important thing. And I was actually historically using alcohol as a crutch to hide either things I was insecure or scared about or things I couldn't attack or face head on. Now, again, I have zero issues with anyone drinking, but I want to actually share, and we'll play the video, the 3-minute video that changed my complete perspective on drinking alcohol. So let's actually play the video, and then I'm going to share a couple thoughts after.
It's the most personal thing to people. It is, and I know it's one of the most personal things to people because try talking to someone else about drinking. Try talking to someone else about how you haven't had a drink for 2 years and watch what happens to them.
Instant
I don't drink that much anyway. I don't. And if I were to tell other people how they could do it, it just is so particular to your own spirit and your own psychology that it's almost impossible to develop one way of explaining it to someone else. You have to fight really hard to look at it from a critical point of view because it's constantly pushed on you. Every Friday and Saturday on social media, there is enabling going on for drinking. When your friend blacks out, if he dies, he dies. And me saying I won't have another drink 10 minutes later.
Captions, yeah.
What if I woke up every morning on Friday and Saturday and Sunday and put my feet on the ground and I just went, not hungover, and put it on social media every day, you know? Like, that would be an influence to people because I think you forget that's an option. And if you look at drinking the way you would look at anything else, which is risk, reward, what am I giving up? What am I getting? Some of the worst odds that ever existed.
Yeah,
and I have the most amazing last night of my life drinking story. And it was Drake's 30th birthday party, and I made quite a fool of myself.
Really?
Oh, and it took me weeks to stop doing this every morning I woke up. And then I had a conversation with myself. And I remember where I was. It was like 6 days into the hangover. I was in my 6th day of the hangover. That's how big the hangover was. I looked out the window and I went, okay, John, what percentage of your potential would you like to have? Because if you say you'd like 60 and you'd like to spend the other 40% having fun, that's fine. But what percentage of what is available to you would you like to make happen? And there's no wrong answer. What is it? And I went 100.
I want it all.
I said 100.
I want it all.
And then the voice in my head said, okay, do you know what that means? And I went, we don't have to talk anymore. I get it.
Let's go.
And that next year, I did 4 tours. I was in 2 bands.
Yep.
I was happy on airplanes. So what happens when you stop drinking? The level goes, it feels like boredom at first. But if you stick with it, the line straightens out and it goes kind of low, right? You're like, oh, I'm not having these high highs. But if you work, you can bring the whole line up.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay, the mic drop in that entire video, the most poignant moment for me, the mic drop was, what percent of your potential do you want to reach? And when that question was posed in the video, to me, it was very clear. The answer was 100%. I've talked about how my biggest fear is floating through life. I don't want to float through life. And here's the other thing where I know this is incredibly touchy or personal, because the second, and I've seen this, the second I say, hey, I'm not drinking, other people automatically think it's some attack on them, where you are implicitly questioning by the nature of saying that, like, oh, I don't drink that much too, or like, I don't have a drinking problem. And that's not the point of this. The point is, for me personally, I felt at this point in my life, I couldn't reach 100% of my potential with alcohol. Now, others might be able to, but I just looked in the mirror and said, hey, for me, Arjun Mahadevan, at this point in my life, I don't think I could reach 100% of my potential with alcohol. So that to me was that moment when it was so clear, that question as to why I didn't want to drink right now in my life. It doesn't completely serve me. The goals I've set, I don't think I personally can reach 100% of my potential. Now, here's the other thing, and I'll be very candid about this. I also did reflection and realized I was using alcohol to cope with other issues versus attacking them head on. One was stress. After stressful situations at work or in life, I realized I was turning to alcohol to try to numb my brain in some sense. But the truth is, that doesn't sustainably work. You can numb your brain or distract yourself, but then the next day you're hungover and the problem still exists. You haven't addressed the root cause. So what I realized is I have to address the root cause. Why am I stressed, or why am I upset about something, and address that directly. Build that muscle. Learn how to cope with those things versus trying to numb it with alcohol. So that was the first thing. I just got kind of tired of not having the root cause solution, and I was masking that or trying to cope with it with alcohol. The other one, I realized that there were many situations where I was drinking alcohol to have more liquid courage. And I know people call alcohol liquid courage, so let me give 2 of the most common situations, social situations or a date. In a social situation, you might be meeting new people, you might be a little scared, and alcohol helps, loosen you up and make you more outgoing. But same thing there, I realized, what's the fear I actually had? I wanted to address that head on. I think the fear was, when I was meeting new people, I wanted to be liked, or I wanted to fit in or have a conversation. And I realized that the fear came from, what if that wasn't the case? Well, here's the thing. I think normal's a dishwasher setting, and some people won't like you, but in any conversation, let me use the example of approaching a girl. There's a ton of fear that you might have about going up to a stranger or going up to a girl. And this is something that reframed my mind on it. Whether you're talking to a girl or you're talking to a stranger, what is the worst thing that can happen? I'll answer. The worst thing that can happen is you die. Like, they kill you. That's actually the worst thing that can happen when you talk to a stranger. Maybe the second least worst thing is like the person slaps you or hurts you. But other than that, nothing's going to happen if you're talking to a girl or to a stranger. The biggest thing that I realized I was scared about is imagining the conversation going poorly, and then that put me into this state of being anxious about it. Instead, I just realized, let me attack this head on. I had this mindset of, hey, nothing's going to happen from having the conversation. Let me just attack it head on. So I've actually overcome it. I don't get scared anymore about at a networking event going up to someone or approaching or talking to someone, because the worst thing that can happen is they hurt you or kill you. That doesn't happen. So now I can just have the conversation. So ultimately, and again, this is personal for me, I realized I was using alcohol to cope with other situations. Now I don't want to do that or need to do that. I've addressed, and I try to address the root cause, and it's a muscle like anything else. You have to get comfortable doing it over and over again. But that to me was another personal reason why I didn't like coping with other things with alcohol. I wanted to address them head on. Now, here's the last thing I will say is that question to me was really powerful. What percent of your potential do you want to reach? For me, Arjun, personally, with alcohol right now, I want it to reach 100%. And for me personally, others can do it. I know they can do it. There's people who have achieved far more success whether it's health or business, than I have. And I aspire to be like them. They drink alcohol. But for me right now, I realized I think I have the best shot of doing it without it in my life. And this comes to the final thing, this mindset shift. It's very easy to live in the gap saying I'm giving up alcohol. But the mindset shift I've made is I'm not giving it up. I'm gaining everything else that comes with it. I'm gaining clarity. I'm gaining potential savings from not buying drinks. I'm gaining no hungover mornings where I can be fresh and wake up early. I'm gaining all these things. So rather than living in the gap, I try to live in the gain now with all the things that I'm getting. And again, my goal in this video is not to try to brainwash you or to make a statement saying you're a bad person because you drink. That's not the case at all. I'm trying to just be incredibly candid about why I made this decision. And at least I hope that question of what percent of your potential do you want to reach, or even this conversation helps reframe or think through, even removing alcohol, why do we do certain things? I think ultimately, with so many things in life, you don't crave the thing, you crave the feeling it gives you. You don't crave the cigarette, you crave the relaxation it gives. You don't crave the ice cream or the junk food, you crave the feeling you get after. And I think for me personally, that's the same thing I was doing with alcohol. Thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll be releasing more content just like this, where I'll be giving you an unfiltered, behind the scenes look of what my life is like building and scaling Doola here in New York City, including the challenges the team faces on a daily basis, how we acquire customers, how we've raised funding, my favorite growth hacks, my morning routine, and more. So please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be putting out content on the regular. And speaking of entrepreneurs, if you yourself are a founder looking to either start a new business or scale an existing business, Doola is your business in a box solution. We've helped over 10,000 entrepreneurs from over 175 countries focus on what they do best, so Doola can handle the rest, the unsexy yet critical back office required for any business. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.